was in my class. That's how I know him as a student to begin with. He was very dedicated, very determined in his direction of what he wanted to do. And he knew so much more than any of the other students that I had because he was a prolific reader. I was so impressed with Kyle. He would bring me these books that he was reading about artists, and they were like this thick, and he really read them. I mean, probably the kind of thing that even when I was in college, I just would have looked through it and wouldn't sit down there and read it, but he did. Many people, even by the time they're seniors, have no clue of the direction which they want to go, which is normal, I think. But Kyle was going to be a painter. We were working on painting or drawing the view outside the window of the art room, and we had a lovely view. It was of the Clinch Mountains, and the class was right before lunch, and Kyle wanted to know if he could just stay in the classroom and finish his painting. And he did, and I just loved it. It turned out beautiful. And then I asked him, maybe, I don't know if I asked him that day, but probably within a week or so, Kyle, would you consider selling it to me? Well, I'm not sure he ever sold a piece of work to anybody. But I offered him a price, and he was very happy to have it. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, it's one of my favorite paintings. It hangs in my living room. And he didn't sign it, seeing how humble he was at the time. He didn't even think that he needed to sign it. I probably should get him to do that. Because nowadays, when you see a Kyle Buckland painting, you see the signature. Plein air is being outside, doing your work painting. And usually when you're working plein air, your whole work is done in the field, in the street, wherever you're doing your plein air. It's not the kind of thing where you're there and then you take a photograph and you go back, work on it in your studio. You usually begin it and finish it right on location. It's very spontaneous, has to be. You've always got your subject right in front of you. You don't have to second guess about, well, was there a shadow here, or did I get that angle right? It's right there. He has a gift. And I mean, he has a gift, he has an eye for what he sees and what he wants to project it as being what he sees. I mean, what he sees, it's not a photograph, it's painting. But it brings you to the place where he is seeing. I mean, he can find inspiration. My daughter has a few of his paintings too. He can find inspiration in an alleyway that has refuse cans and old brooms and things. And the painting is wonderful, and you're drawn to it. And then you think, oh, this is a painting of an alley. But he shares the talent that he has. He teaches some, and he makes videos, and I've seen some of those, and they're wonderful. Yeah, I've also sat in the last couple of years. He had an open studio, and he demonstrated how he painted. In fact, I think that he did a whole painting at that time and talked about it and why he did this and why he did that. And yeah, it was very informative and interesting. I know that Kyle writes his own songs and plays guitar, and I don't know if he plays any other instruments, but he helped restore guitars for musicians whose instruments had been damaged from the storm. Of course, I'm always so pleased when my students, former students, become artists, because I feel like, ooh, I had a little tiny part in that, and that's the way I feel about Kyle. I don't think I was much of an influence, but hopefully there was something in it that he learned.
Right. Thank you for that lovely introduction. That was wonderful, and you had more of an influence than you realize, I think. I first want to thank the Arts Alliance Mountain Empire and A Magazine and Betsy White for the nomination and Heidi McElroy for that lovely introduction. If I had to stand up here and thank every single person that's played a role in getting me to this point in my career, we would be here all night. But I do want to say that this community has been really a wonderful community to come up in, and I think we should all be really proud of ourselves. I think if we look around this room today and see how many people are here, I see a lot of familiar faces, I see a lot of collectors of my work. I think it's really important that we support the arts as a community, and that's exactly what we do here in this region, and I think that's a wonderful thing, and so I think everybody should be really proud of themselves for that. As an artist and as a professional artist, I think a lot about art, and I think about what is art, and one thing that I've decided for me, and I think, that what art is, as best as I can tell, is it's a language. And it's a universal language that was put here to record the totality of the human experience. Artists are the record keepers, and whether they're painters, whether they're songwriters, whether they're poets, playwrights, all across the board, what we are doing is very important because we're keeping a record of the totality of the human experience, and I couldn't think of a better mission to have, than to record this beautiful thing that is our life here. And so, playing a role in that and spreading that, that joy that I find in creating has become an important part of my process. Yes, I love to be outside. Yes, I love painting landscapes, but I also love to see that spark in somebody else when they pick up a brush and they do something and they realize, oh, wow, I have it in me to be a painter. I want to briefly just talk about some of the things that have played a role in my career. I started out at Abingdon High School, had Heidi McElroy and many other teachers too that were very understanding of my interests and allowed me the time and the space to pursue the arts at a very young age, which was really cool. My family, my mom and dad were really supportive. I have to thank them. They allowed me time to come home after school, and I didn't have to start my homework until after the sun went down because I wanted to go outside and paint, and so I had some good deals worked out with my parents there. I started off. I worked at the Starving Artist Cafe, washing dishes. A lot of my friends worked there, and they were thinking about opening restaurants or cooking, and I said, I want to paint, so I would go paint, and then Sean Crookshank saw my paintings and said, hey, you should have a show. And so I had a show, and we invited everybody out. I think I was 16. I didn't put a whole lot of prices, big prices, but I had these what I thought were decent prices, but ended up selling all the paintings. I was blown away. I mean, the community came out in a strong way, and I remember thinking in that night, maybe this is something I could do for a long time. This could be a thing, like where I do these paintings and people give me money for them and I pay my bills with them, and so this has been going on, and it's working so far. So went to the William King Museum art camp. That was my first summer moving here. I was like, oh, these are my people. This is my place. I was 12 years old at summer art camp. I went to the studios when I was 17 or 18 and hung around the studios. They had life drawing. John Sowers was really instrumental in my career. And then I went to work for the Barter Theater. I didn't get to speak with it, but Derek's out here. I worked with Derek. We were the scenic artists for a couple years, and I learned a lot there. It was wonderful. Jump in the deep end of learning how to mix colors, and I went from painting 8x10s to painting 20-foot by 40-foot backdrops, and so scale went out the window, and also learning how to get stuff done. I mean, we were extremely disciplined at the Barter. We had a time, we had to have things done, and we had to have them done professionally and well done, and they set a great example for me there. Everybody that played a role at the Barter was very instrumental and really helped me feel inspired to pursue the arts. And then, of course, just being at the studio now, my wife, Jennifer, who's also an artist, we've always shared a space, and now we're sharing a space at the William King, where we've been for about 5 years. And our studio, is open to the public, so it's kind of a nice full circle moment to be able to give back to the community. And we're getting ready to start building our own studio. We bought some property in town in Abingdon on Boone Street, and we're getting ready to start building our own studio. So really a wonderful time to be here to, I'm so grateful for this award, and it's just a really kind of full circle moment because I'm so happy to be in a position to give back to the community that gave so much to me when I was first starting out. So thank you so much.